How's it going, y'all? Titan Smash MTG, and today it's everybody's favorite time of the year, my favorite time of the year. It is new standard season. New cards are about to be released on MTG Arena, and with that comes new decks and new brews to try out. A few things before we get started here. Number one, if you're not subscribed or follow me on social media already, please do so. I've got my link tree down in the description below. Subs always nice, really appreciate it. I'm on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all the kind of things, so follow me if you're not following me already. Number two, with these decks, we try to find all the new cards to play and some really exciting stuff. Be forewarned, this is, we're at the end of a standard cycle right here that has Throne of Eldraine. While there's a lot of really neat and cool cards in this set, I still expect Throne of Eldraine and the already existing brews to be the top of the meta. So if that's what you're looking for, in my next video, I'll be adding some new Adventure of the Forgotten Realms card into those existing decks already. But for this, we're kind of go a little bit off the beaten path and try some interesting stuff with the new mechanics. Just really focus on some of the new cards here and play some decks that, can still be competitive and be good, but while being a lot different than what you'd usually expect to see. We already know what Sultai Ultimate is going to look like. We already know Prismari Dragons and things like that are going to be top of the meta. But with this, we're trying to focus on some new cards. There's still a lot of fun things to play and stuff like that. So if that's what you're in the mood for, you came to the right place. I always try to do these as soon as the set comes out, so that way you all have time to play these as soon as you can and have ideas of what to brew. And luckily, we have this coming out. The set gets revealed on Tuesday, and I think Thursday we can play them on Arena, so it's super, like, no time at all. So hopefully this is where you can come to find some new decks to start off with. I will have video gameplay of new decks coming up. Basically, as soon as the set comes out, I will have gameplay up on my YouTube. So again, if you're not subbed already, consider doing so. But for now, we have 12 new decks for new standard to look at. I decided to go with 12 because I started brewing, and my creative juices were flowing. So I got 12 different brews here. Hopefully y'all enjoy these. Let's get into it. Let's go. So the first deck we'll look at should be no surprise to anybody familiar with the channel. Everybody here knows that I love Gruul and some big old chunky monsters. So with that, we'll be playing some Chonky Gruul to start it off here. Chonky Gruul is basically a lot of big monsters. We've got some really cool big toys from the set here, as well as some good enablers to ramp us up to those cards. So the first new card we're looking at here, we're playing the 2-up Primal Might. We're playing a whole playset of Prosperous Innkeeper. Prosperous Innkeeper just being a 2-mana way to have a creature that makes a token on ETB. Also, it lets your Left Beast be enabled, which is kind of cool. But just a 2-mana card that way on turn 3 you can play any of your 4-mana spells is really nice here. We're also playing the 2-up Tangleflora Hedron, but the Innkeeper is so much better just because we get that guaranteed token. That way, turn 3 rolls around, we play our land, crack the token if we need to, and bam, we're questing Beasted on turn 3. Or we're playing some of the other 4 drops we'll talk about here. We're playing a playset of Bonecrusher Giant and a playset of Luststruck Beast because if you haven't noticed already in Standard, those cards are pretty good. So they got to be in here, but also they provide sizable bodies on their own. We're playing 2 of Delina Wild Mage here, and this is a wild card. I'm kind of on the fence about this one because, it's a 3-2 for 4, which is not a good body. A 4-mana creature that doesn't do anything on ETB and gets stomped is definitely risky. However, the reward and payoff of this deck can just win you the game on the spot if this untaps and attacks. Delina being able to roll a d20 when it attacks. If you roll a 15 through 20, you get to copy a creature, give it haste, it loses legendary status, and you can keep on rolling. So there's turns with Delina where you can get this down on turn 3. Then on turn 4, you could possibly just win the game. Just attack triggers go crazy here. And also, we're not going to have a lot of removal that can hit a lot of our big stuff. So even if they do kill the Delina, which we don't want, these are big creatures getting in there and attacking and killing them anyways. So we're playing 2 of Delina to try it out there. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if the body's just too fragile, especially with all the stomps running around in Standard right now. But the payoff is so huge for this deck that I do want to try it out. We're playing 2 Questing Beasts here. It's a legendary, so we don't play too many of them, but I feel still, turn 3 Questing Beast is still pretty dang good. Now let's talk about one that looks really weird here, but one that I actually really like in this deck. We'll be playing Zariel here. So Zariel is a 4-mana Planeswalker. The +1, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. The haste is big because, again, we're playing a lot of big creatures that we want to haste out here on 5 and 6 mana slots. 0, you make the 1/1 devil that can ping something. That's great. The ultimate's only -6, so that's pretty cool too. You get an emblem with the beginning of the first combat phase on your turn. Untap target creature you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So again, if you get to this point, you probably won the game already. But I really like giving all of our creatures haste in this deck. 4 mana. Also, we can cast this on 3. Do the 0 to make a 1/1 chumper here that can chump and keep it alive. Then the next turn, maybe we're dropping down an Elder Gargoyles that has haste all of a sudden. That's really good. Maybe we're playing Delina and just instantly try to go for the combo there. There's just so many things we can do with this card, and I actually think Zariel is super sweet in this deck. As mentioned, we're playing a whole playset of Garderoth. Again, it's just a good card, a good blocker. It does all the things you want it to do, and the possibility of having this have haste is super nice. We're playing a playset of Goldspan Dragon, just another good card in Standard that's already proved its worth. Two Terror of the Peaks, because again, these are big creatures. The ETB, we ping down a blocker that can maybe stand in the way, and then get the swinging is nice. Let's talk about some weird ones here. We're playing one of Coursewood Crasher. It's a card that, never really saw the light of day in much standard play here, but a card that I've always kind of loved. 5 mana 6/6 is always good with Trample. The fact that you can make up the tokens is nice. And again, if we get to give this thing haste or have Delina go crazy with it, there's a lot of neat things we can do with Coursewood Crasher here. Speaking of hasty dragons, we're playing the new Inferno of the Star Mounts. The 6 mana 6/6 flying dragon haste can't be countered. We love that. You pay R, Inferno of the Star Mount gets +1/+0 until end of turn. When its power becomes 20 this way, Inferno of the Star Mount does 20 damage to any target. I don't think we'll ever be getting that far up there in the damage chain, but hey, you never know. But still, this is a 6/6 with haste, which is really nice, and the fact that it can't be countered, because, especially in a deck like this that plays a lot of big spells, you kind of have to worry about your big expensive creatures being countered, but not here. So I think Inferno was great. This thing can just close out a game so fast, and that's the whole point of this deck, so I think it works out really well. Finally, the top end, I figured I'd try it as a one of just to see how it goes. We're playing one Tarask, and I apologize if I pronounce these cards wrong. I don't play D&D in my own time, so if I'm saying some of these monsters wrong, no disrespect meant. But we're playing one Tarask here. This is the 9 mana, 6 triple green, 10/10 legendary dinosaur. When Tarask enters the battlefield, if it was cast, it gains haste and ward 10, which is just a hilarious stat line. Whenever it attacks, it fires target creature defending player controls. So with this deck, we're playing the Prosperous Innkeepers, we're playing the Tingle Hedron. We have a few ways to ramp out a little bit. We have Goldspan Dragon, which makes tokens. A lot of ways to kind of get this out earlier than you expect. And again, it's just a 10/10 with haste that fights something every combat is pretty sweet. I don't know if this card's actually good enough or not. This is one of those cards that's super fun, but it may just not be good enough. But I figured, hey, we're going to try it out here. This is Chonky Gruul, so why not play one of those chunkiest cards in here? But that's what we got here for deck number 1. Hope you all enjoyed that. Let's go to the next deck. Let's go. Alright, so for deck number 2 here, this is Dungeons and Dragons, so it couldn't be a Dungeons and Dragons set without some new dragons. So we're going to be playing some Jeskai Dragons. Now, this is kind of built sort of similar to the Prismari Dragons in Standard right now, but we're going less controlling elements of it, and more just beat your face down with the big flying creatures. So to start off here, we're playing a whole playset of Orb of Dragonkind. This is the 1 in a red artifact that allows you to tap it to add mana of any color to spend dragon spells. We're playing a lot of dragons in this deck, so that's pretty great there. You can also pay the red and tap it. Look at the top 7 cards of your library to find a dragon and put it in your hand. Considering how many of these have haste, this can just be a way to win you a game late in the game too, which is sick. So Orb of Dragonkind, I think this is actually a really neat spell. It's not often you find 2 mana rocks that can ramp you. And considering this is in a Dragons deck where we want to have that kind of effect, I think this is really nice. We're playing a whole playset of You Find the Villain's Lair. Again, we're playing kind of like that Prismari style, so we still want to have some counter magic in there. And I like this because not only can we counter the target spell if we want to, we can also learn their secrets and draw 2 cards and discard 2. This is really nice because we're playing the 1 of Draconic Intervention in here to have a little board wipe, just in case we need that out here. We're playing Magma Opus as well, so we have some ways to kind of put things in the graveyard if we need to. That way our Draconic Intervention can be a one-sided board wipe for us. But also a lot of times in these kind of decks, once you get your creatures down, you generate the mana via tokens and whatnot that you just want to be able to counter spell sometimes. So a whole playset, You Find the Villain's Lair here. I can see this needing to be a different kind of counter spell, but I want to play a playset of this, try it out. As mentioned, the 1 of Draconic Intervention, one-sided board wipe, try it out. Let's get to the fun stuff though. We're playing 3 of Galazeth Prismari. Already know what this does in Standard, pretty sweet card, helps you ramp a little bit. We're playing 3 Icing Death Frost Tyrant. This is 2 white, 4/3 Flying and Vigilant Dragon. I love that when this dies, you still get value from it, and attaching this to any of your dragons to kind of start tapping things down and make them even stronger is super, super nice. Again, we're playing Orb of Dragonkind here, so we can play this on turn 3. And I think all these kind of 4 mana spells we can play on turn 3 is just super, super good, being able to accelerate and get the battlefield down and clogged, and then we can hold up our counter magic to kind of protect our stuff. We're trying out 2 Adult Gold Dragon here. Just 5 mana, 4/3 Flying, Lifelink, and Haste. I'm not 100% sure about this one, but the fact that I have Haste kind of throws it up there while I want to try it out. It's boring. It's just kind of keywords and goes to town, but it does what you want it to do. So, Adult Gold Dragon as a 2 of. We're playing a whole playset of Goldspan Dragon. Still the best dragon in Standard. I don't think any of these new dragons can quite overtake it. They're pretty sweet, but Goldspan Dragon is still the dude. So one that I'm excited to try here, but kind of terrified to pronounce, this is Imrith Desert Doom. This is the 5 mana, 5/5 Flying Dragon. It has Ward 4 as long as it's untapped. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Then if you have fewer than 3 cards in hand, draw cards equal to the difference. This guarantees that you're never going to be able to go out of cards here. Ward 4 when it's untapped is fantastic because you can kind of play this without having to worry about counter magic. That way, whenever you do go to attacks and tap it, by then you can have your counter magic held up already. Or you can just be playing other dragons and generating value anyway. They kind of have to choose between what they're killing. And that's the thing here, is like you're playing so many good things that it's kind of hard for the opponent to decide what to do. Playing 3 Terror of the Peaks here. Again, we're playing a bunch of sizable creatures with big bodies, so you won't Terror of the Peaks to be able to start pinging things down. It's a dragon, so we can play it on turn 4 if we want to. Just a lot of good value here. We already talked about it in the last video, but we are playing 1 Inferno of the Star Mounts. Again, it's just a fast, flying, hasty dragon that can't be countered. Works well in this shell. And I'm just imagining these curves where you're going Galazeth into Goldspan into Inferno. That's so much damage and just so hard to deal with. So I think this is going to be really, really nice and aggressive. Finally, at the top end, the usual suspects will be known from Prismari Dragons already. A whole playset of Alrund's Epiphany, and a whole playset of Magma Opus. Again, more ways to ramp up. If we get to that ramp, we can cast Magma Opus late game. That's going to be really good. And it turns out, taking extra turns with the Alrund's Epiphany with a bunch of dragons on board already, pretty good. So definitely a different style here. This isn't quite the controlling, hardly any creatures kind of shell that we're used to with Prismari Dragons. This is more of a just, you play these dragons out, you beat face. There's only so much removal out there. It's going to be able to stop these things, and these fly over the competition. So I think this deck can actually have some legs. So next up, we'll talk about some mono green Stompy. Already existing deck in the meta that performs really well, but it got some cool new cards here that I want to try out here. To start it off here, I wanted to try some Ochre Jelly. This is XG, Ooze, the Trample. It enters the battlefield with +1/+1 counters on it equal to X. It has Divide. When Ochre Jelly dies, if it had 2 or more +1/+1 counters, create a token that's a copy of it at the beginning of the next end step. That token enters the battlefield with half of those 1/1 counters rounded down. I like this because mono green sometimes kind of has some trouble with board wipes. People kind of wipe your board with big creatures, and then you're kind of struggling to rebuild. This has a kind of built-in clause where it's like, hey, you wiped my board, but this is still kind of surviving. And then if you get other ones and play them, you just keep on getting to do your thing here. So I want to try this out. This may not be as good as Stonecoil Serpent, but I want to try it out in the slot, try a few of them. We'll see how it goes. Playing a whole playset of Primal Might and a whole playset of Swarm Shambler. Those are just kind of staples in mono green. Nothing to see here. Again, we're a green deck that cares about creatures. So we're playing 4 of Prosperous Innkeeper. I'm just going to be a sucker for this card. If it's bad, then hey, I'm wrong. But I think this card is just gas. It's a way to just put a body down and gain some life whenever you're playing creatures and be able to ramp up to your 4-mana spells a little bit earlier. So we're playing a whole playset of Werewolf Pack Leader. This is a card I've already talked about on Twitter and on TikTok. I love this card. 2 mana, 3/3. Very nice there. It has Pack Tactics. Whenever it attacks, if it attacks with creatures power total 6 or greater this combat, draw a card. So it's a 2 mana green card that can be easily in this deck, easily be drawing a card. You can pay 4 until end of turn. It becomes a 5/3 with Trample and is a human. So super, super sweet there. I love this card. This is an easy 4-up in this deck. We're playing a whole playset of Xanadu Mammoth and a whole playset of Lovestruck Beast. Again, it's mono green. Nothing new there. Another new card we're playing there is 2 Varus Silvery Moon Ranger. I'm not sure what a Silvery Moon is. I'm sure you D&D aficionados can tell me in the comments below. But this card's a 3 mana 3/3 with Reach and Ward 1. So already that's some pretty okay stat lines. Whenever you cast a creature or planeswalker spell, venture to the dungeons. This is the only venture kind of mechanic we have in the deck. So I wouldn't expect us to be completing a lot of dungeons or anything. But if this sticks around, it has the possibility to do so. If you do, you make a 2/2 green wolf. So that's pretty cool there. But even on its face, just get a little bit of extra value for each creature you cast is really nice. Reach and Ward 1 is not too bad at all. 3/3 is fine for the stat lines. You only get to do the venture thing for the first time each turn, so you can't just go off of this kind of thing. But still, it's a solid card in this deck, and I think it's great. Rounded it off here, we got 2 Gembrazer, nothing to see here. 2 Questing Beasts, nothing to see here. 4 Great Henge, nothing to see here. But we are playing one more new card from this deck, from this set, and that is Froghemoth. For those of you who haven't seen it, Froghemoth is the 5 mana 4/4 Trample and Haste. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, exile up to that many target cards from their graveyard and put a 1/1 counter on Froghemoth for each creature card this way, and you gain 1 life for each non-creature card this game this way. So this kind of does it all. This is replacing Scavenging Ooze in a way. Obviously, this is a 5 mana 4/4, which isn't the best stats, but the fact that it has Trample and Haste and can grow so fast is really good. So I think Froghemoth is a super cool card. We'll see if it's good enough to play, but I want to try it as a 2-of in here. Last thing to talk about here, I'm still going with the Faces Haven and the Snow Mana base here at the Castle Garenbriggs. I know we got the new Hydra kind of land, and I do think that land is pretty sweet. But I think Faces Haven is just so good in these kind of shells, and I think that's still where you want to be here. Though I wouldn't blame anybody at all if you want to drop the snow lands, change those into regular lands, and then try some of the Hydra lands instead. But we're going to the snow lands and Faces Havens for now. But that's what we got here, Mono Green Stompy. Let's take a look at another deck Let's go. So next up, we have one of the possibly strongest creatures in the set here, which is why it gets its own deck name. This is Izzet Demilich. Again, maybe saying the name wrong, so apologies for that. The sad thing here, there's not a lot of new cards in the set. This is basically just Izzet Prowess and something we're kind of used to in Standard already for the people who do play that. I know Crokies was really loving this deck for a little while. But this is a deck that, the only new cards it gets here is the playset of Demilich, and I'm playing 2 Den of the Bugbear as well in the land category. But otherwise, this is kind of just Izzet spells. Sadly, we didn't get any really good. There was one blue spell that I thought about putting in here that to give something hexproof for you tap a creature, but that's just not really good enough on its own to play. So we're still playing 12 different 1-drops here, and basically we're just trying to have a mass amount of spells we can cast really early, reduce that cost of Demilich, and play it for cheap. So we're playing 4 Crash Through, 4 Opt, and 4 Shock. In the 2-drop slot, we're playing a playset of Expressive Iteration, playset of Sprite Dragon, Bone Crusher Giant, Brazen Bar, again, nothing you've never really seen before. And at the top of it, we're playing 4 Storming Entity. But let's talk about Demilich. So Demilich is blue, 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 blue. So a 4-mana creature, Skeleton Wizard, 4/3. This spell costs blue less to cast for each instant sorcery you've cast this turn. Whenever it attacks, exile up to 1 target instant sorcery card from your graveyard. Copy it, you may cast a copy. You may cast Demilich from your graveyard by exiling 4 instants and or sorcery cards from your graveyard in addition to paying its other cost. So this card right here just does a bunch of cool things here. I really like this card. I think in older formats especially, this card is super, super strong. I'm going to see a lot of play there because there's just so many ways to get this cheaper and do some nasty, nasty things with it. But even in Standard, I think there's enough here where, yeah, you may not be casting this on like turn 1 or turn 2 like some decks could be broken and do. But still, there's just a lot of ways that on turn 4 you're going to have, you shock something, and then maybe you pay this for 2 mana. Or there's just so many different ways to do this. I think it's super cool. The fact that you can exile and copy stuff from your graveyard is super nice, and you can cast this from your graveyard. So this card has a lot of versatility, and I think it's going to be seeing some Standard play for sure. It's just a matter of what kind of shell there is to play it. Again, I wish we got more support for this kind of card in the set, but the card's strong enough on its own that I think you can just slot this to an already existing kind of tier 2, tier 3 deck and make it work and be a little bit better. Also, the Den of the Bugbear, I figured I'd try that out as a 2 of here and replace a couple of mountains. I don't think this is going to care too much about your land coming in tap because you're such a low to the ground, super low cost deck anyways. So we can kind of afford to do that here. Again, don't know if it's amazing or anything, but it's one of the cheaper ones we can play. I think it's worth playing. But overall, this is Izzet Prowess, Izzet Spells with Demilich. So is it good enough? We'll see. So next up, we'll be looking at some Control here because I know some of y'all like playing Control for some reason. I'm just kidding. I kind of like Control sometimes too. This is just Dimir Control here, and Dimir actually got some pretty sweet new toys to talk about. Starting off here at the bottom, we're playing 1 Erebus Intervention, 2 Eliminate, 3 Heartless Act for removal. So a lot of good, cheap spot removal there. 2 Negate, and then 3 Midnight Clock. Midnight Clock's a card that I always think kind of goes underlooked, but I always enjoy it when I play shells that want this kind of effect. Being able to ramp and have just kind of this ultimate thing that, for one, it hurts rogues if it actually gets to pop off, which is really nice. And rogue usually has a hard time answering this anyways. But 2, it's just a way to get to your expensive spells a little bit faster, so I think it's pretty cool there. We're playing 1 Mystical Dispute, but getting into the new cards here, again, you find the Villain's Lair as a 4 of. I love the versatility of being able to counter something or draw 2 and discard 2, so whole playset there of this one. Let's talk about some of the spice, though. We're playing 2 of Ebon Death Dracolich. This is the 4-mana 5/2 Flash Flyer, enters the battlefield tapped. You can cast this from your graveyard if a creature not named Ebon Death died this turn. We play a lot of removal in this deck, so I think this is a good way to be able to provide a clock, which, Dimir Control usually doesn't have. But also, you can flash this in on end step, or, whatever you need to. And then it's just a 5 power creature that can block anything. And even if it dies, you're not that upset about it, because if it dies, you can cast it from the graveyard after you kill something else. So, Ebon Death as a 2 of here. Again, this may not be the kind of thing a Control Shell wants. I can see cutting this completely, but I want to try it out as a 2 of. We're also playing 2 of Emerith Desert Doom. Again, we've talked about this one already, but just a way to be able to draw cards on attack here is really nice. This thing does its best Dragon Lord Ojutai impression that I've seen so far in a while. I think this card is sweet in Control Shells. I think this is the kind of creature the Control Shell wants. So look out for this one. I think this card's super good. We're playing 2 Extinction Event and 2 Shadows Verdict here as the board wipes, so still 4 board wipes total there is really, really nice. The top end here, we're playing 2 Professor Onyx and 2 Shark Typhoon. Again, nothing you've really never seen before there, but let's talk about some of the spicy inclusions here. So first off, we have the new Planeswalker that's spoiled today. This is Mordenkainen. I think that is how you pronounce that. If it's not, I'm sorry. But this is a 6 mana, 5 loyalty Planeswalker. +2, draw 2 cards and put a card from your hand onto the bottom of your library. It's a nice filtering there. Draw 2 on your +2 is super, super nice. And that puts you at 7 loyalty already. So it's a pretty high amount to attack through, which is cool. -2, create a blue dog illusion creature token, which isn't a dog illusion. That's amazing. Its power and toughness are equal to twice the number of cards in your hand. So, say you're playing, you got 5 cards in hand, congratulations. Your -2 made a 10-10. That is stupid. And the fact that the +2 can draw you cards and discard cards means that even every time you plus this up, you're going to be making your dog illusions a little bit more powerful. -10, this is just crazy. Exchange your hand and your library, then shuffle. You get an emblem with you have no maximum hand size. Good grief. This card is just silly. But I think this is super, super sweet. I think this is going to be an excellent kind of card for control shells here. So we're playing this as a 2 of here. If I can see this just replacing Professor Honest completely. This card is sick. Finally, one that I'm trying out here. One that I'm not completely sold on, but I do want to try it out. We're playing a 1 of Xanathar, Guild Kingpin. This is a 6 mana 5/6 Beholder. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose target opponent. Until end of a turn, that player can't cast spells. You may look at the top card of the library anytime, and you may play the top card of the library, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast a spell this way. That is a mouthful. I don't know if this card is good enough to see play or not. I can see this is getting, you play this and they just Heartless Act it, and then you pay 6 mana for that, and you feel real bad. But if you can get this down in control shell, especially like imagine in a mirror match, you get this down and it doesn't die for 1 turn. All of a sudden they can't do anything on your turn. You can do what you want to do here, and then when it's their turn, you get your counter magic ready to go, held up against them. Seems sweet. I think Xanathar is super cool. We'll play it as a 1 of and try it out here. Not sold on it, but we do want to try it out. But that's what we got here. Round this off with the whole playset of Orange Epiphany. Nothing you wouldn't expect to see there. And we're also playing 1 Hall of the Storm Giants here and 1 Hive of the Eye Tyrant. Trying some of these new lands out. Control's a deck where you don't really mind if the lands come in untapped late in the game because you're just playing so many lands anyway and you're kind of used to what things coming in untapped. But Hall of the Storm Giants is a big finisher for control decks, which is really nice. And sometimes just having a Hive of the Eye Tyrant creature being able to get in there with menace and attack can be good. So this is what we got here for Dimir Control. We'll see if it makes the cut or not. Let's look at another deck. Let's go. So this next deck I don't think is super, super great, honestly, but it's something I got asked for by a few people, and I want to give y'all something to try out at the start of the season. If you wanted to try this kind of shell, this is Esper Ventures. So we're using the venture mechanic pretty hardcore here. We're trying to go through all kinds of dungeons and get some, get some stats built up, all that kind of thing. Starting off here, we're playing a playset of Bloodchief's Thirst, just a 1 mana removal spell. We don't want to be using really expensive removal because we're wanting to place for creatures. The Bloodchief's Thirst, kind of just a sorcery speed catch-all here, is still kind of nice. We're also playing a playset of Dungeon Crawler, just a 1 mana 2/1 that enters the battlefield tapped. When you complete a dungeon, you may return Dungeon Crawler from your graveyard to your hand. So kind of just a recursive threat that's hard to get rid of. Hopefully we're going to be completing dungeons at a pretty good pace here. That way it's just always able to come back from the battlefield, and that's really nice. So we're playing 2 Heartless Act here. We still got to play removal to be a real deck, so we'll play 2 of this. But let's get to some of the fun stuff here. We are playing a whole playset of Triumphant Adventure. My preview card. Triumphant Adventure, just a good body on its own. I mean, it's only a 1/1 with Death Touch, but the fact that it has First Strike, Wild Attacks, meaning it can get through there. Nobody's going to want to block this thing. If they try to double block it, you can blow them out with a Heartless Act or something like that. So Triumphant Adventure, just a way to venture through the dungeon. I love this card. It's a Death Touch blocker if you need to just be on the defensive, and yet, yes, it'll die. But still, it's a cool card. We're playing a whole playset of Yuan T. Malison. 2 mana 2/1 Snake Rogue. It can't be blocked as long as attacking alone, which is kind of nice. Also, when it deals combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon. So this is a way if you need to play this on 2 and you don't have anything else to attack with, you can get this in unblocked, not worry about it, and venture into the dungeon. That is nice. Also, we're playing a lot of cheap and kind of small creatures here, so late game, if we get them down to a low life total, just send them with this thing and it can't be blocked, and that's super cool. So we're playing this as a 4 of here. I think this card's kind of cool. Whole playset of Brazen Bar. We're kind of a tempo-y kind of deck here, so I think this card works here. So we'll play a whole playset of that. We're playing 3 Mystical Disputes. We're kind of wanting some cheap interaction and cheap counter spells here, so 3 of Mystical Disputes seems good. Continue the theme of cards I can't pronounce. This is Grazilex Ilthiid Scholar. We're going to call it Grazi. 3 mana 3/2 Grazi. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may return it to its owner's hand. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control do combat damage to a player, draw a card. I love the draw card aspect on this because we're going to be getting in there with stuff like our Triumphant Adventure. So that turns Triumphant Adventure into a 1 mana, 2 mana Death Touch, 1/1 First Strike that draws a card and ventures into the dungeon. That's pretty good with this card here. I think this card fits in the shell well, and I like it. We're playing 3 Hama Pashar, Ruin Seeker, 1 white and a blue, 2/3. Room abilities of dungeons you own trigger an additional time. That is super nice when we want to go venture through these dungeons, do these things twice here. We're playing a whole playset of Nadar, Selfless Paladin. I know it's legendary, but this is a card that you're going to want to do all the time. 3 mana, 3/3 Vigilance, Dragon Knight, which is the coolest combo ever. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, venture into the dungeon. And the fact that it has Vigilance is really nice. Other creatures you control get +1/+1 as long as you completed the dungeon. Finally, we're playing 2 Barrowin of the Clan Under. Again, sorry for killing these names, I'm sure I am. 4 mana, 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, venture to the dungeon. Whenever it attacks, return it to 1 creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield if you completed a dungeon. This is 4 mana, so by the time we've done this, we've hopefully already completed a dungeon anyway, meaning every time this thing attacks, you're going to bring back any creature from your graveyard. That's sick. I like this. I think this is a neat little deck. Again, I don't think it's super great. I wouldn't expect this to be seen any big play in Standard, but y'all wanted it, and I tried to provide, so here you go. There's also ways you go Abzan and dish the blue here, but I think the blue actually has better payoffs than the green does personally. So, Esper Ventures, is it good? Probably not, but you can try it out if you want to. So next up, I know we got some Rakdos Sacrifice fans in here, and I figured I'd make some Rakdos Sacrifice with some of the new cards, so we've actually got some pretty sweet ones here. Not a lot of new cards as far as the quantity, but the quality of these just fit right into what you want to do. So starting off here, 4 Claim the Firstborn, 4 Eye Witch, nothing new or crazy exciting in there. New card here though, Shambling Gas, as a 1 mana, 1/1 zombie. Whenever it dies, choose 1. You can either create a treasure token, or you can give it another creature -1/-1. This is super nice here because, you know, when it dies and you sacrifice stuff, leave behind a treasure to ramp is super cool. But also, it kind of has that effect of, you know, you give something -1/-1. You can block this, you can block like a 2/2 in combat, have it die, and you're happy with that trade-off. So I think Shambling Gases fits right into these kind of shells, and it's a really good card for this kind of deck. I'm playing 1 Hunt for Specimens here. Also, we'll be playing like the lesson sideboard. Like, we just do best of 1 for these videos. Obviously, we'd have like a 7-card sideboard with lessons and learn kind of cards in here. But Hunt for Specimens is a 1 of. Play 2 Kroxa here. We're not going super graveyard focused, but still, it's nice to have this as like a 2 of. We're playing a whole playset of Plum the Forbidden. Plum the Forbidden is a fantastic card here. You know, you can claim the first board and then play Plum to sack it. But also, we have the whole Sedgemoor Witch package going on, so Plum the Forbidden can just go wide with Sedgemoor Witch. 1 Shatterskull Smashing here in the mana base. Whole playset of Bastion of Remembrance. We know what this card does. It's very reliable, these kind of shells, and it's a card that you want. We're playing the Sedgemoor Witch package. 2 Woe Strider. 3 Exus Auric Overlord. Obviously, we're not playing this. We still have some white sources in here just in case we were able to cast it. But for the most part, we want to play that backside there. Sack some creatures. Make your token and get in there. But let's talk about some new cards in the set once again. 2 Zariel here, which may seem super strange, but hear me out. This is a card that can give all your creatures haste, so we get all these little things. Like, let's say we do the Plum the Forbidden package and Sedgemoor Witch. We sack a bunch of things, we make a bunch of little pest tokens, that we give them +1/+0 and haste with Zariel, so all of a sudden we get this really fast clock going on. And if we have our Bastion of Remembrance out, they die, you drain them for 1. It's just a lot of cool stuff going on here with that. So I think Zariel, even though it don't look like it would work in this kind of shell, actually seems pretty sweet. But finally, let's talk about the top end here, because I think this card is fantastic and tailor-made for these kind of shells. We're playing 3 Lolth Spider Queen. So Lolth is a 5 mana, it's a 3 double black Planeswalker, 4 starting loyalty. It has the static text, so whenever a creature you control dies, put a loyalty counter on Lolth. 0, you draw a card and lose 1 life. Simple, easy peasy. -3, create 2 2/1 black spider creature tokens with Menace and Reach. So Menace makes them hard to block if you get that damage in there. Them having Reach means you can protect yourself. You can still trade with a Brazen Bar or something like that, which is really cool. Finally, not -8. You get an emblem with whenever an opponent is dealt combat damage by 1 or more creatures you control. If that player lost less than 8 life this turn, they lose life equal to the difference. That is hard to read. I think this card is fantastic. These kind of shells. Again, this is why we're playing Sedgemoor Witch, because it can go so wide so fast. There's going to be some really dirty games here where you get to play Sedgemoor. Maybe you claim the Firstborn and then sacrifice it, Plum the Forbidden. You're making all these kind of tokens and chunk blockers here. And then you're either playing Zariel, plussing them up and getting to attacking. Or you're playing Lolth, sacrifice all these things again, ultimate right away. There's just so much potential here for this card to be busted. So I think Lolth is fine in this deck. I think it's super good. And this is the kind of shell that wants this for sure. But that's what we got here. Not playing any of the new lands or anything. I just don't think they quite fit in this kind of shell. But if you want to add those in there, feel free to. But Rakdos Sac, Lolth Sacrifice, let's go. So next up, we got a little bit of combo action. If you're looking for a turn 2 kill in Standard, I'm sure a lot of you all have seen this already, but if you haven't, a possible turn 2 kill in Standard with some Minion of the Mighty combo. Basically, what you're wanting to do with this deck in Christmas Land is on turn 1, you play your Minion of the Mighty. Turn 2, you infuriate, so it gets up to 6 power and attacks. With that, you're looking to drop a Terror of the Mount Velis, a 7 mana dragon. It comes in tapped and attacking. It gives all your creatures double strike, so you're swinging for 21 all of a sudden. That's pretty crazy. Now, obviously, this is a very fragile combo. You need a lot of things to go right to make that kind of thing happen. So we're playing a little bit of a backup plan strategy as well. We're playing a whole playset of Cathartic Reunion. 2 mana as additional cast a spell, discard 2 cards, you draw 3 cards. We're playing a lot of top-end dragons we may not be able to get to, so even though they're really nice, a lot of time we're going to be kind of looking for those combo pieces or things that enable that. So we have a kind of easy things to discard here if we need to. We're playing a whole playset of Magna, Brazen Outlaw, just a way to, it comes in, gets +1/+0. Whenever it attacks, you make a treasure token, so you can help to ramp up. If you happen to make enough treasure tokens, then hey, you can use your Magna to find a dragon that you need to put on the battlefield, which is cool. We're playing 2 Orbit Dragonkind here. Didn't want to go too crazy with it, but still, it's a way to, on 2 mana, to ramp up to some of these dragons and play if we need to. 4 Bone Crusher Giant, 4 Ironcrag Feet. Being able to make 7 mana means that we can play any of these dragons here. And again, playing any dragon in this deck is super, super nice, so I think this will work out well. We're also playing 4 Goldspan Dragon, 2 Terror of the Peaks, the whole playset of Terror of Mount Velis, and again, 2 of our Inferno Dragon friend here. Just a lot of different ways to put some big damage out there. Important to note that if these things have haste, with Minion of the Mighty, you can just do your thing anyways. So I think this card's super, super cool. This obviously, this combo is super fragile. I don't expect this to be a super big player in Standard or anything. But anytime you have the potential for turn 2 kills in Standard, you have to take a look at it, have to respect it. So Minion of the Mighty combo. If you're feeling brave, go for it. I want to try it out. I will say I'll definitely try it out. But I wouldn't get my hopes up high on any consistent turn 2 kills with this thing. But if you're going to, I think this is a decent show for it. So obviously this is a new set, but with the new set, some things will always stay the same. And one of those things is me playing Winota. So here we have some Naya Winota with some of these new cards. And we got a couple of sweet little things to add here. Starting from the bottom, 4 Spire Sentinel and 4 Selfless Savior, the 1-drop slot. Selfless Savior, keeping your Winota alive. Spire Sentinel will help you ramping out to that early Winota if you can. Whole playset of Lotus Cobra. Just a way to ramp up again, mana fix a little bit, and play some of these things, which is super cool. Professor of Symbology, allowing us to either dig for a Winota if we need to, or grab a lesson card from the sideboard. So we'll be learning and listening here as well, so you just feel free to add your sideboard cards there. Playset of Bone Crusher Giant, you need to have a little bit of interaction here, but sometimes you can just do some things with just Spare Sentinel or Lotus Cobra, ramp it out, do your things there. 3 Elite Spellbinder, still a good hit off Winota. Flying Evasive Threat in the air is nice. Let's talk new cards, though. Playing a 2 of Minsk, Beloved Ranger. Again, maybe pronouncing that wrong. I don't care at this point. I'm not apologizing anymore. This is a legendary human ranger, so we can hit this off Winota. When it enters the battlefield, create Boo, a legendary 1/1 red hamster creature token with trample and haste. Get some Boo in your life, Boo thing. This can pay X until end of turn. Target creature you control has base power and toughness XX and becomes a giant in addition to their other types. Activate only as a sorcery. So we hit this off with Winota if we want to, or we just play it on turn 3 and we get the creature that's the hamster token attacking anyway. And I love that this can be both a hit off Winota, but also creates a creature that enables Winota to trigger if you play it on turn 4. So I think Mist is a slam dunk in here. I should probably be playing more in 2 of, honestly. Now, one that may make you shake your head, and honestly, maybe I shouldn't have this in here, but I think this just might be crazy enough to work. But we're playing 2 of, you see a pair of goblins. This is a 3 mana instant where you choose one. You can either get all your creatures controlled, get +2/+0 in the end of turn, or at instant speed, you can befriend them, create 2 1/1 goblin tokens. I love this because on turn 3, you can hold this up. Maybe they kill your one thing because they know you're Winota and they want to make sure you can't have any creatures for it. Where you make a pair of goblins, you make your 1/1s here, and then you drop your Winota. You get your 2 creatures on turn 3 there, and you're swinging in, getting those beautiful, beautiful triggers. However, even the other side of charge them is actually nice here. Maybe you need to get that final damage out and just kill somebody. You got your wide board with all your Winota triggers here. +2/+0. If you got the Blade Historian down, that's doing a lot of extra damage there. So I think you see a pair of goblins is actually kind of sick in this deck. Finishing it out, nothing that you haven't seen before. Whole playset of Blade Historian, the best Winota hit you can ask for. Whole playset of Winota because the name's, it's the name's Winota. You kind of need to have 4 of it here. And finally, 2 Kenrith. The King Daddy is still one of the bigger cards you can hit off Winota as well. So that's what we got here. I think Minsk and you see a pair of goblins or some kind of neat additions to it. If you have other additions or things you'd fit in here, let me know. But it's Winota. I'll be trying it every standard season because that's who I am. Let's go. Next up, a deck that can possibly see a resurgence in Forgotten Realms, which is actually really cool because it's an archetype that I've always enjoyed, is Dimir Flash. Dimir Flash got some pretty neat little cards in here. They're kind of weird. Like, I don't know if they work in this kind of shell or not. But it kind of changes the way you play Dimir Flash because you still get to do all your flashy things here. But now you get something Dimir never had, which is an actual clock because some of these creatures are really big for a very small mana investment. So starting off here, whole playset of Cunning Nightbonder, absolutely fantastic card in these shells. Being able to have everything with Flash costs one less and can't be countered is super, super good. We're playing one Eliminate and we're playing one Eliminate and four Heartless Act here. Just good removal suite here overall. We're also playing two Power Word Kill, one of the new cards in this set where you destroy a target non-angel, non-demon, non-devil, or non-dragon creature. This will all be meta dependent. If there's a lot of dragons flying around, you don't want to play this card. I would add more Eliminates or Heartless Act or something like that. But for now, I think 2 of here is a good place to start with this. Let's talk about a new card we're playing here in the creature slot, though. This is Grim Wanderer. This is a 2-mana 5/3 with Flash. That's a crazy stat line. 5/3 Flash, but you can only cast a spell if a creature died this turn. And important to note, though, this does say a creature died this turn, meaning doesn't have to be your creature. So what you want to do with this deck is you play your Cunning Nightbonder on turn 2, turn 3, into turn, maybe they play the Lovestruck Beast or something, you eliminate it, and then you flash in for 1 mana, Grim Wanderer, and all of a sudden you got a 5/3 down that can attack through just a bunch of things. And it's nice to have a creature this cheap that can trade with something like a Lovestruck Beast. We're playing Omen of the Sea as a 4 of here. Being able to scry and draw cards is nice. Again, with Cunning Nightbonder, this costs 1 mana, which is cool. Whole playset of Brazen Borrower. Great card that we want to have in this kind of shell. 2 of Dragon Turtle. So Dragon Turtle is kind of a weird one. This is a 3-mana flash, 3/5. So again, very nice body for only 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you tap it, and up to 1 target creature an opponent controls, and they don't untap during their controller's next untap steps. This means your Dragon Turtle does get to untap before theirs, though, which is kind of nice. Also, when it does survive, and especially when you're playing against aggressive decks, not a lot of creatures are going to be able to profitably attack through a 3/5. That 5 toughness is so huge there. So I think this is a really nice card for 3. If you don't want to counter something, maybe save your counter and instead just flash this in, lock that creature down. You'll be good to go. So we're playing 2 Mystical Dispute here. Again, it's a card that you kind of always want to have in these kind of decks. Whole playset is Slitherwisp, because we're only saying in the 2 colors here, and Slitherwisp is still a fantastic engine. 3/2 body is also a little bit, it's vulnerable, but it's still a card you want to have in Dimir Flash. 4 of You Found the Villain's Lair. This is probably the card I've added the most in all these decks. I think it's just such a good card. Being able to counter stuff and draw and discard if you need to, super clutch. Speaking of big, powerful creatures, we are playing 2 Even Death Dragon Lich again. We talked about this already, but a 4-mana 5/2 with Flash. It means that we all of a sudden have this clock that we never had before in Flash. We have plenty of removal in this deck, so if we need to kill something and then flash us in, we can do so. I think this is kind of a slam dunk here. Trying as a 2 of, but it may be one we want more of in this kind of shell. I think it's actually pretty sweet. And again, with Cunning Nightbonder, you can go Cunning Nightbonder on 2, and when you're in step of turn 3, flash in a 5/2 flyer. That seems sweet. Finally, to round this out here, a single Voracious Great Shark. Otherwise, it's a typical land base you expect to see. Dimir Flash getting some new fun toys here. Is it good enough? Guess we'll find out. Let's go. Alright, so for deck number 11, this is an old fan favorite that actually got some life pumped into its veins here, possibly. This is Mardu Knights. I did not expect to be talking about this deck again before rotation because Knights got a big old push in Throne of Eldraine, which you may have noticed, it's a pretty strong set. There were a ton of good Knight cards in there, and then they kind of just stopped with the Knights. We actually surprisingly got a few good Knights in this set, so I wanted to talk about this one. So it started off, 2 Bloodchief's Thirst and 4 Fervent Champion. Bloodchief's Thirst is cheap removal with this deck once. Again, you don't want to be holding up a bunch of removal here. You're a very aggressive creature deck. You're trying to go wide and fast and that kind of thing. So we're just playing 2 of that. 4 Fervent Champion, one of the best Knights in Standard. Great card. We have 4 of Forsworn Paladin here. This is the new 1-mana 1/1 with Menace Human Knight. You can play 1 in a black and tap it to pay 1 and create a treasure token. So if you need to ramp up a little bit, you can do so. You can also play 2 in a black. Target creature gets +2/+0 in a turn. If mana from a treasure was spent to activate this ability, that creature also gains Death Touch in a turn. So all of a sudden, you go into attack with all these kind of creatures here. Even if somebody is trying to attack, like say you're attacking in one of your puny little 1/1 creatures, well, you can give that +2/+0 and possibly give it Death Touch if you use a token or a treasure token. That's kind of sick. I love the fact that you can pump this up in combat. This is going to make combat math for people really hard because they have to deal with Embercleave math already. Forsworn Paladin, been a 1-mana creature that kind of just fudges that up too, is super cool. We're playing 1 of Paladin class here. I've not used too many of the classes in here, but I think this is actually super sweet. It's a single white mana. Spells your opponent's cast during your turn cost 1 more to cast. So if anybody's playing that control game, they're trying to remove your stuff, it's going to tax them a little bit there. Have to Thalia kind of effect, which is super nice. Level 2, which is 2 and a white. Creatures you control get +1/+1. As I said, we want to go wide here, so the fact that it's all creatures, not just knights, is nice. For 5 mana, you can bring this up to level 3 whenever you attack. Until end of turn, target attacking creature gets +1/+1 for each other attacking creature and gains double strike. That's super powerful. That's a lot of versatility for just something that starts off at a single white mana. I think I'm just playing this as a one-of right now, but honestly, maybe it should be more, because I feel like that's something you're going to want to have on the battlefield all the time. Finishing off the one-drop slot here, we're playing a lot of one-drops. We're playing a whole playset of Venerable Knight, just a 2/1 that puts a counter on another creature whenever it dies. Going to the 2-drop slot here, 2 Black Lance Paragon, something that can kill something with Death Touch, but also just be a flash creature for 3 damage if you need to. Whole playset Inspired Veteran here, because buffing up the team is what we want to do. Stormfist Crusader is the 2-of here, just drawing some cards, doing a little bit of extra damage there. There's also some nice reach. We like having that. My boy Triumphant Adventure making the decks yet again. Human Knight here, Orzhov colors. Not a lot of adventuring at the dungeon in this deck, but every time you get to do so, you can do a little bit of extra damage here, and that's kind of nice. A whole playset of Worthy Knight. This is just one of the best cards in Knights. If you're going to be playing the full-on Knight Shell, you got to be having this as your 4-of. 2 Murderous Rider. We do need some removal here, but also the creature side is a Knight, which is nice. Finally, at the very top end here, 2 Nadar Selfless Paladin. This is a Dragon Knight, so another Knight for the set. Is actually a nice little surprise here. 3/3 Vigilance is nice, getting to possibly have another way to buff the team. We have 3 different cards in this deck that can give everything +1/+1, so that's super cool. I think Nadar fits right in here. If you're buffing it up, a 4/4 Vigilance all of a sudden seems really good. And giving all your other creatures +1/+1 is sick. Finally, 4 of that Embercleave card, you may have heard of it. It's actually pretty good too. So, Mardu Knights, I don't know if it's going to see the resurgence it used to have back in the day, but this is a deck that I love, and I know a lot of people really enjoy this kind of shell. And they got a surprising amount of toys in this set, so maybe it's going to be actually good again. Who knows? But are we going to try it out? Oh yeah! Let's go. Finally, the last deck we'll talk about today is some Selesnya Lifegain. I know a lot of y'all like some Lifegain shenanigans. Usually not my thing, but I do like beating down, and if I can beat down while gaining life, then sign me up. Whole playset of Vial Seed of Life's Bounty here. Nothing you haven't seen or surprised of. Whole playset of Speaker of the Heavens. Again, just this powerful 1-drop that can make some things if you gain enough life. A whole playset of Cleric class. This is the enchantment for 1 mana. If you would gain life, you gain that much life +1 instead. So that's already a fantastic thing for 1 mana this deck wants. You pay the 4 whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. So you get a little bit of a Heliod effect here, which is cool. For 5 mana, when this class becomes level 3, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You gain 1 life equal to its toughness. It's something I don't expect to do often, but a lot of times, shells like this, they have this problem where they get board wiped, they kind of just die. Having this out there on the battlefield already means that you'd be gaining a lot of good life here. You'd be getting to just trigger off level 2 and level 1 already and bring this back. It's just super cool, and I think this is a really nice card for the shell. We're also playing a 2 Portable Hole, just a cheap little thing of interaction, have some removal. In Selesnya, you're not going to have much removal, especially when you're trying to do life gain shenanigans, but Portable Hole as a 2-of does seem decent, and it's a way to give Heliod a little bit of devotion. Whole playset of Daxos Blessed by the Sun, just a solid card here that helps you gain life even more. It's that big old booty when your devotion gets higher, so again, plays well with Portable Hole, things like that, which is nice. We're playing a whole playset of Prosperous Innkeeper, because this actually does what you want it to do on both sides. You have the treasure token to ramp up a little bit, which is great. And then every time you play a creature, you gain a life, which is great. So Prosperous Innkeeper seems like a slam dunk in this deck. We're playing a 2-of Trelisara Moon Dancer. This is a white and a green 2/2 Elf Cleric. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Trelisara Moon Dancer and scry 1. This is going to fix up your draw. This is doing its Johnny's Pridemate impersonation as much as it can. I think this card's actually sick. Again, another really nice reason to go in Selesnya here. This does everything you want to do. Provides a big threat. Helps you scry. Gets those counters. You love to see it. We're playing 3-of Heliod Suncrown here, so we're going to be gaining a lot of life, and with that, we'll be buffing those creatures up. We're playing some good old things like the Cleric class and the Portable Hole, which kind of give that just static devotion, which is hard to get rid of. Whole playset of Righteous Valkyrie. This is a deck that definitely wants to have some Righteous Valkyrie in it. Get big, hopefully buff that whole team up with that +2/+2, which is nice. But let's talk about something that fits really well in this deck, but also can be kind of a little combo here. So we're playing a whole playset of Book of Exalted Deeds. This is triple white legendary artifact. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 3/3 White Angel creature token with flying. Really nice because we plan to be gaining 3 life every turn anyway, so if we can make a 3/3 Angel, that is sick. Let's talk about this part, which kind of gets into combo territory here. Not kind of, it just straight up does. You can pay triple white and tap it to exile this book, put in a light encounter on target angel. It gains when you can't lose this game and your opponents can't win this game, activate only as a sorcery. If you not notice in the mana base, We are playing some Faceless Havens here. So that's like late game. A lot of times they board wipe you and you kind of have a hard time rebuilding. You have a way now where you can activate your Faceless Haven if the shields are down. Tap this if you and you know your Faceless Haven is an angel because it's a changeling. You can put in a lightning counter on your Faceless Haven, and they have to have either a Field of Ruin or some way to just kill your. There's not a lot of land destruction in standard, so you can just kind of by default win the game because you can't lose the game. Your opponents can't win. You could just go to turns. You have no cards to draw, and like whatever, man. Like we'll just wait this game out. So this kind of gets into combo territory here, but it plays really well with what this deck wants to do. There's different ways to play this. You could make a very all-in combo deck just on this card. I had one built, but it looked kind of janky by using like Stute Swarm and Felidar Retreats. So if that's something y'all want to see, I'd be happy to show that. But I didn't feel like it was like good enough for this video. But just ways to ramp up really fast and get that combo going on and just inevitably end your opponent's life. But yeah, this card goes well with what you want to do in Selesnya Lifegain. I think it's a fantastic addition. So that's what we got there, y'all. 12 different decks for New Standard. My tongue is tied, my brain is fried. I hope y'all enjoyed this, though. Again, if you did, please consider subscribing. Follow me on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff if you haven't already. But again, thank you all for support. I love doing these. These are my favorite videos for each set, and every time this comes out, people seem to really enjoy these. I know I enjoy making them, so I hope you all enjoy it. Thanks for the support, y'all. Love y'all. Let's go.